Hello, my name is Cassidy Abbott, and I did my Unfial presentation on Wife Swap. Wife Swap is an American reality TV show program where two families that are usually from different social classes and lifestyles swap wives/mothers for 2 weeks. During the first week, the new wife must abide by the same rules and lifestyle that the previous wife did. However, during the second week, the new wife is allowed to make their own rules that the family must follow. Is wife swap an experiment? Well, it is known as a social experiment, but doesn't meet the requirements to be one. It has some parts that make up an experiment, but not all. It is actually not an experiment. So, experiment requirements for an empirically based experiment are that the researcher must 1. Vary at least one independent variable to assess its effects on participants' responses, 2. Have the power to assign participants to experimental conditions in a way that assures their initial equivalence, and 3. Control extraneous variables that might influence the outcome of the experiment. So, why is wife swap not an experiment? It does have experimental conditions in which the wife/mother from each household is swapped for 2 weeks. However, it does not have a control group. The conditions change throughout the experiment. Extraneous variables are not controlled, there is not a random sample, and the sample group is too small. So, what are the experimental and control groups? Well, an experimental group is where participants in an experiment who receive the independent variable, such as a drug, vaccine, or other intervention. In the wife swap, the experimental groups are the two families who participate in the program by swapping wives/mothers. A control group is the participants in an experiment who does not receive the independent variable. In wife swap, there is not a control group. So, independent variables and dependent variables. An independent variable is a variable that you manipulate. In wife swap, the independent variable would be the changing of the wives/mothers. A dependent variable is the variable that you measure. In wife swap, I do not know if there is one specific thing that the show is measuring. However, I believe if there has to be a dependent variable, it would be the behavior of the families. So, if not an experiment, then what is it? Well, wife swap is an observational study because individuals are observed and/or certain outcomes are measured. The wife/mothers of the two households are switched, and from then on, they are observed for 2 weeks following the conditions that the show set. It does not have an explicitly stated research question. However, I believe that the question would be, does the woman's role in a family have an impact on the family's behavior and the way that they do things? So, a theory I learned in research methods in social science would be how our personal experiences can be misleading and can cause us to have cognitive bias about the degree that we are informed and have desirable qualities. So, selective observation is when we tend to seek out information and evidence that confirms what we already believe. So, this applies to my life because I used to be extremely pro-life and would only seek out information that agreed or supported my view. I also did not listen to people whose views contradicted mine.